Hello, welcome and welcome back to those returning emeralds, and hello to those who are new. If you don't know me, my name is Lady D Emerald or Dr. Lady D Emerald due to all the elemental P's I have behind my name. I am a weaver of Black spirituality, history, astrology, public health, and policy for Black and Indigenous liberation. Some of you may just know me as the Lady Emerald, the astrologer, the diviner, the two-head conjure doctor, but I'm also native Memphian. I've had the immense privilege of honor of focusing on Memphis during my doctoral dissertation. I have a PhD in public policy and policy analysis with an emphasis in public health and equity. Um, but I've also had the privilege of tracking what's been going on in Memphis and really feeling her essence. Now, this is going to be a conversation, folks. I'm not going to be sitting here lecturing you or yapping, or, well, I am going to be yapping, but I'm not going to be sitting here lecturing you through all of this. I do have in the description a graphic where you can kind of see more of the breakdown of astrology if you're new to this. I am going to be breaking things down and explaining some of the things that we see in the charts, really so people can get like a solidification of the culture and who Memphis is and who are Memphians, right? And what's going on. Now, this video is like the part one. There's gonna be a part two about what we should be focusing on and what we should be doing in the future to continue to help her be who she is and not continuously exploited, right? A lot of Memphians, that anger you feel is really probably, well, not probably, it is the sense of erasure, okay? But you're like I said, you're not just gonna be seeing my face, and although this is a conversation, you're gonna also be seeing the chart of Memphis. So this is the city of Memphis. This is her birth, or as some people call it, the natal chart. Every event, every person, every country, every city has a birth chart. If we have the dates, we get the chart. But we really need the time, okay? So first of all, I want to say happy birthday to Big Mama, Big Memphis, okay? I am filming this on the 21st of May. And so y'all are seeing this on the 22nd of May, or at least the weekend of the birthday, okay? But you're going to be seeing this chart. You may also be seeing other charts, but you're going to be we're just going to be having a conversation. Now, before anyone says, "I don't believe in astrology." Lucky for you, astrology is not a belief system. It's a system, a language of math and historical observation. Most people get introduced to astrology through the sun sign pop astrology, but that's barely the surface, okay? Astrology is much deeper than that. This is why some of the most powerful people, some of the most non-powerful people, right? We all have used astrology at one point in time in our lives to figure some things out, okay? So I don't know if y'all hear the train in the background. Are you not from Memphis if there's not a train in your background at least once a day? You go across what's at least one train track, okay? But let's talk about the city of Memphis, folks. I want to talk about what Memphis signifies, right? Before Memphis was the Memphis that we know of today, it was the center, or the major distribution of slaves or people who are enslaved in the US. It was called the Charleston of the West. Charleston, South Carolina is where 40% of all enslaved peoples came into the US. So we were the Charleston of the West. We sit in the center of the Mississippi River. We are one of the main connectors of the United States. We are now the central or the center distribution site of the United States. So we just went from one type of exportation to another, but the black bodies are still making the capital. The black bodies used to be the capital. Now the black bodies of Memphis make the capital without seeing any of that money. Okay. Memphis is about 65% black. If you include Shelby County, if you just include the city of Memphis, that number jumps. I'm a public health professional, so I'm trying to like break this down as quickly as possible so people can know the demographics. It is about almost 10% Hispanic or Latino. I think it's about 3 to 5% Asian. And then we do not really have a true calculation of the indigenous population that is still in the city, because a lot of the indigenous population has merged with the Black population. So a lot of intergenerational or generational Memphians are Afro-Indigenous, especially if you're like from the North Memphis area. That just is what it is, okay? That is coming to lay the land of Memphis. But let's really get into Big Mama herself, okay? Now, we're going to go back to the chart I showed. So, you may not see me, but you're going to always hear me, okay? Birthday. It was a Saturday, May 22nd, 1819. This, we don't have the exact time, but based on how I have observed Memphians, how we act, how we um how we really interact with each other, I was pretty sure, even just knowing how people kind of used to sign documents back in the day, I say around 12 something noon, right before 2 o'clock, I know for sure that the city of Memphis became into fruition. Okay, so that means what? The city is a Virgo rising, a Gemini sun, and a Gemini midheaven with a Taurus moon. Now, I know people who are new to astrology are like, wait a minute, let me pull up the document. Let me hold on. You're right. Let me break this down. What you're looking at is a natal chart in the style, because there's different styles and systems within astrology. This is Placidus. So each house, so you kind of see how things are sliced as pieces, that 1 through 12. Those houses are unequal, so they're calculated very precisely. A lot of people, you see a lot of astrologers use whole sign astrology, where all the houses are the exact same size. Placidus does not do this. This is what I prefer to read in. I think is a little bit more precise when the change of planets as planets transit, right? So I always tell people your birth chart is your cosmic DNA. It is what you are born with. It is your baseline, your foundation. But as time continues and planets transit, and we orbit around the sun, those transits are the environmental factors that impact the cosmic DNA. Okay. Planets, if we want to think about astrology this way, if each house is a stage, like a stage, like a play, right? If you're doing a play, each house is a different type of stage. Each planet is a different type of actor playing a character. Okay. And with the Placidus chart, it's very specific about how or when the planet steps into the next house to be or play in that environment that's set. Okay. So, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I broke that down. But your rising sign is where your first house starts. And Memphis starts in Virgo. So the first house is who I am and who I show to the public. Virgos are known for their acts of service, for being witty. I think Virgos are hilarious, but I'm also a Gemini, so whatever. It's ruled by Mercury, so communication, music. A lot of people, a lot of the greatest musicians, lyricists, artists have Gemini and Virgo placements. Right, so think the most famous Virgos are some of our most famous entertainers, Beyonce and Michael Jackson. Some of our best lyricists, right, are have Gemini placements. But so Memphis, so here's the downside to Virgos, especially Virgo risings. Virgo risings get on my nerves with this. They can be very self-deprecating. Think about a Memphian that you know that always talks down on the city. And 9 times out of 10 is because they don't even like themselves. Let's call it what it is. The thing that's inside this first house is called an asteroid. We're not even going to pay attention to that right now, because the two of the main asteroids I want us to pay attention to, or three of them, is in some other houses. But Juno is the asteroid that's in the first house. It's an asteroid of relationships. And in this is like the relationship to self. Now, we have the second house. The second house rules your self value, your self worth, your self esteem, what you value materially as well, but also income, how you make your money. Crazy enough, Memphis has a second house in Libra. Libra, the sign of justice, but also the sign of, like, how do I explain this? Of networking. Gemini is also like a networking type of sign, but Libra knows how to flow and be a socialite at the same time. So some of Memphis's value is not only in um being fair. I think this is why, like, most, especially real OGs, not people, not some of the let me slow down. Listen, real generational Memphis. No, in the grand scheme of things, this is an eye for an eye type of city. You do me wrong, I'm coming for the ass. We are also, like, sometimes it's about the MFN principle of things. That's second house in Libra. I'm on your ass like grass, okay? Like, they because your value is your, how you make your money goes back to who you are. You want to be fair in things. But also, if the crazy part about Libra, also, if I can do some tricks as well, I will. I think that is another reason why Memphis has always had a strong pimp culture. It is part of the fabric, especially of the blackness part of Memphis, because in the grand scheme of things, before Memphis was known as music, uh, it was also what it was, Charleston of the West. It was one, and has always been. This is in the history book, folks. Memphis has always been one of the safest places for Black people to be, even with the racial injustices, even with the Memphis massacre, right? We know, if you do not know, if you're a Memphian, do not know about the Memphis massacre, I need you to get on your Zoom, baby. Okay, I need you to know this history. You need to know your city. Um, in the midst of all of that, the Memphis massacre of 1866, by the way, in the midst of all of that, y'all, it was also known as Mojo City, which leads us to third third house of neighborhoods, communication, children, elementary school, marketing. Like, third house is in Scorpio. Memphis is a spiritual city. It's a spiritual nexus. Even how we speak about ourselves, we call ourselves Soul City. Scorpio, the sign of intimacy, deep introspection, not hypersexuality. Scorpio, we're not going to get to that. But listen, Scorpio, deep intimacy, and also deeply spiritual, can be, if it chooses. Scorpio placements, you know what I'm talking about. How it talks about itself and how it looks at itself. Even, hell, it's so many neighborhoods within neighborhoods. If you're going to talk about third houses, there's neighborhoods within Memphis. By the time it was 1990, there were 300 neighborhood associations within the city of Memphis. Third house, neighborhoods, children, siblings, communication. Now, before we even, I already know one. I know some of y'all like, hold on. Let me go back in the video. Let me go rewrite that down, because that's clicking. That's clicking. That's clicking. I want us to understand that Memphis is called Mojo City because of hoodoo and conjure. You cannot be a distribution of enslaved Africans and not start embedding your spirits within or along the Mississippi, within the crops, King Cotton, all of that. You cannot talk about Memphis being a city of soul when Black people, the African diaspora, have been known as people of soul. You cannot talk about the soul without talking about Black folk, right? Descendants of Africans. You cannot talk about soul food without talking about the South, right? So as we move throughout the birth chart, I want us to like understand this. It's the reason why I have this as a premiere so y'all can type in like as we go throughout this. How long have we've been only going for 15 minutes, okay? So I'm gonna keep getting us and working us through this. Okay. As we go through the houses, y'all, once we start getting to houses with planets. Now, one of the most important things in astrology is not necessarily where that planet lands in the house, but how it's interacting with other planets. And as we move into the fourth house of home, ancestry, lineage, I would even say partial healing and death. We have Memphis in Sagittarius in the fourth house, but we also have Uranus, okay, at 23 degrees, Neptune at 28. When planets are within seven, how I do it, when planets are in 7 degrees, yeah, the astrology is math, and within 7 degrees of each other, they are what we call conjunction. So they are working in cahoots with each other. Okay, that's their partner in crime. Uranus is the planet of revolution, untraditionalism, upheaval. It's next to the planet of, which is Neptune, of religion, spirituality, illusions, psychosis, drugs. Neptune had was in Pisces from 2011 to what was that, 2025, is finally in Aries. Neptune in Pisces is why you had so many people going bonkers. But for Memphis's chart, it's in Sagittarius. It's this exploration of revolution, this exploration of spirituality, this exploration of this learning more of this expansion of um not knowing what to expect. It's in the blood, it's in the lineage, but it's also within the house that is home, right? So these planets, you see the lines going. So the red lines can say like this is a negative aspect, right? Can cause some tension. And the blue lines are saying these can be positive. Could. Depends. Okay. But Uranus and Neptune in the fourth house can signify this. Now I got copious notes, y'all. I got copious notes, but I'm going off the dome. But with this one, I'm gonna go back and see what I said a while ago about this. I want to make sure I'm hitting all the, because I know folks gonna have questions, and y'all can hit me up. Like, I'm Lady Emerald, BlueSky. Well, I'm Dr. Lady Emerald on BlueSky, Lady Emerald on Instagram and Threads. But Neptune in Sagittarius, openness, frankness, idealism, philosophical values, searching for deeper meaning. There's distrust in others, right? It's the reason why I think one of the main theme songs of Memphis is Project Pat, If You Ain't From My Hood. If you not from where I'm at, if you not from the deep south, because Memphis begins the deep south, I'm not gonna trust you too quickly. I do. Neptune and Sagittarius can also be a downfall because people can lie to you by being false prophets. There is a whole nother thing. But I think one of the main things about Uranus and Neptune in the fourth house for Memphis is that you never feel like you quite fit in with the other cities that's supposed to be similar to you, right? I too hate when people compare Memphis to other cities. We're not the same, baby, and we never will be, and that is okay. Everybody got to have their own vibes. I think it's another reason why, as hard as they try to gentrify and take over Memphis, it's never successful. It's never truly successful. And we have to continue to make sure that those bigots do not take over the city, but they need to pay us our worth. Uranus and Sagittarius talks about the ups and downs. Uranus and Sagittarius in the fourth house, I do really believe is why Memphis has such a problem with housing. Part of my dissertation was about housing from the renters perspective since the inception of Memphis, where I said the Trail of Tears and the displacement of indigenous peoples was the first eviction in Memphis, and how they did that is how they evict you now. I'm telling you this as a policy expert. Memphis does not have enough housing for its current residents. We need about 50,000 units. Okay. And that does not include the amount of unhealthy housing that we have. Uranus in Sagittarius. Uranus Sagittarius gives us also a huge interest in astrology and the occult. I talk about this a lot, about Memphis being a very spiritual nexus. There's plenty of the other placements and aspects in this chart that tells us this, but you're most likely to be misunderstood. There's a lot of change in the job markets. If you know about the history of Memphis and it being an export of things, we've been an export of people, we've been an export of music, hardwood, water. I mean, so much. It's a change. It's just how we do, right? But we've only been limited because people have exploited us. But we never had a drought in ideas, and we've always had good sense of humor, Memphians. Now the fifth house of Capricorn. Let's talk about this a little bit. That I think is one of the more challenging houses to have in Capricorn. Fifth house in Capricorn. The fifth house. This is where Memphis messes up and has before. The fifth house of creativity, dating, children, all of that is in Capricorn. And where Memphis has messed up is it has not. A lot of us talk about this. Everybody talk about Maine and John and Atlanta trap house music really came from Memphis and Alabama. Even Gucci said it. Gucci Mane said it in his book. We did not do the correct things in law correctly, right? We did not do it. Memphis should be making money every time somebody says Memphis, Maine, Memphis barbecue, using our producers. Because Capricorn talks about, I'm a resource, but I'm also resourceful. I should be getting my money. Downfall to also Capricorn. Capricorn will give. Capricorn is the sister sign to Cancer. So Capricorn can also be an over nurturer. But you expel too much if you're not making sure that you are reciprocated. We have not been reciprocated creatively. This is why we are on people's asses about please name us, right? Who started this? Memphis. Who started X, Y, and Z? Memphis. Please give us our props. Give us our credit. That's fifth house in Capricorn all the motherfucking time. And I do understand the amount. You can really spot a Memphian anywhere in the world. I meet Memphians everywhere I go. I have lived in 5 states in the past 7 years. I can spot us. We are everywhere. We are everywhere doing the work, creating X, Y, and Z. I get it, baby. Okay. Now, sixth house, this is where it gets trippy. Sixth house, the house of health, daily routine. The sixth house used to also be the house of slave labor. I want y'all to hear me when I say this. The sixth house used to be the house of slave labor, but because as times have gone on, we have expanded as human beings. The sixth house is now of work-life balance. It's always been the house of health. Memphis has Jupiter, big Jupiter. the planet of fate, partially business, and also expansion. Is in the sixth house in Aquarius. Innovation. Aquarius is innovation. Aquarius is not technology. Gemini and Virgo is. Aquarius is the sign of innovation. And Jupiter. I don't think y'all hear me. That thing that looked like a forest, big Jupiter in Aquarius in the sixth house of his. How did Memphis start? Okay. As a slave distribution site. It is beautiful. Yes, Jupiter in the sixth, so it's beautiful. But it also has these two asteroids that I like to deal with Nike and Aries. Nike, the asteroid of success, of victory. That is why Nike is named Nike, because the mythology of the Nike goddess. And so we have an asteroid. It tells us where we are going to be successful. And Eris is also another asteroid, but it is named after a Sumerian goddess. It defines the part of ourselves who's essential to going against the odds, going against cultural norms. And the sixth house of Aquarius with Aries, Nike, and Jupiter is another reason why Memphis is a spot of health innovation. Y'all know we have a huge medical system here. We service up to a 250-mile radius. We are a tri-state city. We even share our economy with part of Arkansas and northern Mississippi. Okay? That is part of our day-to-day. Do we have challenges with our authority, aka the state of Tennessee, because of Aries in the sixth house? Absolutely. Do we get mad when people try to make decisions for us? Yes. This is Aries in the sixth house. But it also makes us very clear in who we are. And we can even see what other people outside, you can see what outsiders are trying to do against us. Sixth house with Nike really does, once again, talks about this being a place of great health. Some people come here to relax, or they feel at home here. They come here to get care. I always say, like, it was a blessing that Mona Leo, the rapper, when the things that happened to her with her uterus and her ovaries, that she was in Memphis trying to do a show. But we are the place where people come to get trained for trauma one, right? So we have some of the best trauma surgeons, burn center. This is all here. Nike in the sixth house talks about being able to, sometimes it says we feel high and mighty. I mean, like, yeah, but we can always create success if we wanted to. We can also always create successful routines, and we can heal ourselves. Nike is in Pisces. Nike says 1 degree, but it's in that 1 degree of that sign, that fish, that Pisces. Pisces is highly spiritual, right? Heal yourself. Memphis, you can heal yourself, especially with the land that you are on. If you take care of the land will take care of you. Period. That is one of the deals that we made when we were interacting with the indigenous. We said we would help take care of the land. Like, y'all don't know. Listen, this is part of listening to your elders. I want y'all to see me. I want y'all to see all this when I say this. Part of Memphis being great is the resources and the land that we have here. We must take care of the land. If the land is not taken care of, we are going to be, there's going to be a great demise. And we already know Memphis suffers from environmental racism. As we go into the seventh house, we're going to talk about how easy it is to exploit Memphians because we overgive. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is in the chart. So if you are an intergenerational or generational Memphian, or you're a transplant who feel like your roots are here, because a lot of transplants come to Memphis, find out they do have roots in the city, either there or northern Mississippi. Okay, It's in the history books. At one point in time, Tennessee and Mississippi was beefing to see who gets Memphis. It's part of the history, baby. So let's go to the seventh house of relationships, of business partnerships, of contracts. This is where it gets to be a certain way. Now we're going to the seventh house in Pisces. We have Pluto in Pisces. Pluto is a generational planet. It's most millennials are Pluto and Scorpio generation. That's how long the years are that Pluto stays somewhere. You may have heard that the United States has finished up its Pluto return. So when Pluto was in Capricorn, that was the return of 1776, the return of America. That's why now this year we're celebrating 250, because Pluto goes back into his sign every 243 to 245 years. Yeah. Next to Pluto, conjunct, right? You see that 27, 28, 28. That means they close pals and buddies. We have Chiron, the asteroid of the wound, right? The wounded healer. And next to Saturn, the planet that can be the planet of constriction, the planet that says work smarter, not harder, dumbass. You feel like you got to work hard because you told yourself you got to work hard. I say work smarter, right? If you're ages 28 to 32, you start to go through your Saturn return. Saturn is now in Aries. So that means Memphis just went through its Saturn return. It's a reason why so much has been happening in Memphis, and we have felt that hurt. We have felt betrayed. We have felt like no one is listening to us, because the people who said, "Oh, I fight for you," they do not show up. The people we are really in relationship to, who we say that's our cousin cities, that's our people, that's our X, Y, and Z. You are, say Tennessee is over us. But there's so many wounds there because Chiron's in the seventh, that it penetrates our spirit. Pisces, if let's say this, if Cancer, we could talk about Cancer is the crab, that's in the seas or whatever. But I feel like Cancer gives more like streams and rivers, right? Streams and rivers feel like feed our crops. Scorpio is a deep lake. So talk about like the Great Lakes. But Pisces is the sea, right? This and like when we talk about deep sea. So we talk about this soul, right? This overwhelmingness of spirit. I'm saying this. The seventh house in Pisces is tricky, because if you're not listening to your instincts, if you're not listening to your higher self, or if the people in power are not listening to its citizens, hello, somebody, you're going to feel hurt, right? The current city of Memphis mayor got grandfathered into a bad deal with XAI. He didn't make that deal. Your previous mayor did. That's the T, okay? Listen, Saturn and Pisces, when you're going through a Saturn return, so most of us who are like the last of millennials, we just finished our Saturn return, Saturn Pisces. We had to come back home to self. In the past 3 to 4 years, you have seen Memphis really push and promote itself like who we are. And this is how people should approach the city and interact with me. That's seventh house, business and relationships and contracts. We're very understandable, right? We're very understandable to a detriment. And sometimes that means we underestimate our own power. Okay. Saturn in Pisces also talks about being able to excel in research. So we do have that goes back to right that health thing, right? A lot of people do research on the city of Memphis. Are we listening to them? Some of them you shouldn't. I'm gonna say what it is as a researcher. Listen. Pluto in Pisces talks about being a trailblazer. So most of the cities that formed during Pluto in Pisces, which was 1798 to 1823, which is like a large sector of U.S. cities east of the Mississippi. We are very, a lot of people know us, right? We're very prominent, we're very charitable, but we also can be self-sacrificing. The seventh house is also the house of open enemies. Niggas will always, I'm sorry, y'all. People will always tell you that they don't like you. We know that. We're not slow, right? We know that you don't like us. But also with all of this, it can lead to a lot of legal problems. The Pluto in Pisces, Chiron in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces is one of the reasons why Memphis is a civil rights city. We must fight for each other and we must fight for the city. And us fighting for each other, especially being a black city, we have the biggest black population in a incorporated city in the United States besides Detroit. No, Houston is not as black as us. Houston is Hispanic, it's Latino. Harris County, Houston is the majority Latino. Atlanta is mixed. Atlanta's government sold out Atlanta years ago, even before the 1996 Olympics happened. But they have a different chart. Okay, Chiron in Pisces, that little key K thing is Chiron. So this is where we also get this constant lack of trust, this lack of trust in partnership, and feeling vulnerable every time we make a deal. We see it all the time. A lot of this stuff plays out in our government. A lot of spiritual warfare, period, plays out in the political systems. It is what it is, okay? I know that's a lot to take in. I'm trying to go through it rapidly, y'all. Like, I'm trying to do it, but I want us to process. I want us to like really see. All of us are kind of probably thinking as I talk, kind of think about like the things that's been happening recently, the things that has happened throughout the time in Memphis. Let me tell you, right now I have my dissertation embargoed because there are multiple ways I'm trying to disseminate. But in my dissertation, I outline, and it goes with the transits throughout time and what and how things have hit Memphis. A lot of this shit is history repeating, but it just looks a little bit differently. And every time, somehow, we still may be a little bit behind. I'm gonna be honest, but we still have overcome as long as the people have fought for it. Okay? Period. Now, I'm saying this because we are now, right now, current transits are hitting what we call the eighth house, which is what we're about to talk about now. And the eighth house is all about what are you willing to sacrifice to get what you deserve, to get what you earn, to leave. What are you willing to leave? What are you willing to leave behind to get to the good shit? Okay. Eighth house in Aries is tricky. That's tricky. It's tricky. Aries is a sign of innovation, is a sign of leader. Aries is a sign of like, I'm gonna do it first before you do it to me. Impulsivity is a caveat to Aries, but Aries is also funny as hell. Aries, the eighth house is opposite to the second house. The second house, if the second house is of income, the eighth house is others, people, money. How many people we know, how many institutions, how many governmental structures, how many corporations do we know owe Memphis some money right now? I'll wait. Because I know y'all counting on your fingers right now. Right? How many people you know right now owe MLGW, but they got a data center here? Oh, okay. Mars is at home in Aries, is in the eighth house. The North Node, which you should be going towards. North Node in Aries. My God, North Node in Aries, y'all. Oh dang, did I do that? No, now you'll see me. Let me go back to the image. No, North Node in Aries, that little horseshoe hook. Okay, Mars is 16 degrees, North Node in 19 degrees. Okay, so they interact with each other. But then North Node is also operate in Venus in Aries. Does Venus necessarily always like being in Aries? No, but can Venus hang in Aries? Venus, the planet, if Mars is the planet of energy, war, sexual acts, right? Venus is also a planet of war. Most people don't look at Venus about, oh, love, but how many times do we say there's a thin line between love and hate? How many times have we say what's the saying? Ain't nothing like something about a woman scorned, hell like the woman scorned. That one. Yeah. And in Aries, goes back to why. And remember, in the second house, I talk about like Memphis kind of being the social justice. Another reason why it's a civil rights city, always has been, always will be. Without the Memphis massacre and the New Orleans massacre of 1866, we would never have gotten the 14th Amendment. That the birthright censorship they're trying to roll back now, that goes back to the eighth house, other people's resources, interacting, Venus being like, don't play me too close. Y'all know that saying. If you're a southern person, you or a black person, you've heard somebody say, don't play me too close. That's how all that is interacting. Sometimes if you can't figure out what's going on in the house that you're looking at, look at the opposite house and how they interact with each other. Eighth house, sadly, is about debt. Eighth house is also about death and rebirth, spirituality, the occult, inheritance. So there's a lot of planets transiting Aries right now. And I'm going to be watching if Memphis gets its due. If Memphis sticks up for itself, Memphians tap back into the history and fight, will Memphis get its inheritance? And it's not lost on me. We are nowhere near the North Node in the planets that are transiting, are nowhere near the North Node in Aries. North Node Aries is innovation, leadership, right? That Memphis is being experimented, right? Can we do X, Y, and Z in Memphis? And if we get away with it, we can get away with it anywhere. But it's up to Memphis to be like, I'm about to show you how easy it is for me to flip this to my benefit and for people to fight. Because if we can fight the systems, then everybody else can too. This has always been the way of Memphis. Memphis never has gained an opportunity to be saved by others. Memphis has always had to save itself. It has always had to go a birth and rebirth. And part of its rebirth is loving on itself, loving on the women and the men in it, men and women healing within the city. This goes for the non-binary and trans people as well. Everybody embodies both. So I can talk a lot more about the eighth house and how this is lit up for Memphis. I mean, what that means, but it's almost 45 minutes. Still got 4 houses to go through. Okay. Ninth house. My God. This is why Memphis is such a tourist city. Two of our main big three is in the ninth house. Right? Oh, actually, before we go to the ninth house, let's go back to the eighth house. North Node, the Venus, North Node, and Mars are all interacted with Uranus and Neptune. Another inkling of a very spiritual city. We know that Kojic was started in Memphis. It is one of the biggest Protestant denominations in the world now. And it's originations was started by a root working man, a conjure man, who had a lineage in root working. Okay. I use this chart in my foundational mediumship class to talk about how mediumship shows up in people's charts. Is another reason why Memphis is spooky. We have spirits everywhere. It's plenty of people y'all probably like thought, oh, that's just a person, and that's actually a spirit. That goes back to the eighth house, and how all of these things are interacting with the fourth house and the ninth house. But like I said, I talk about that in my foundational mediumship class. If you're interested in the link for the June and the July classes are in the description box. But let's go back to the ninth house, the house of higher learning, institutions, belief systems, spiritual practices. Ninth house, Taurus moon, food, foodie city, people, travel. Ninth house also long distance travel. Third house, which is directly across from it, right? Third house is short distance traveling. Ninth house is long distance traveling. Think about the amount of people, especially post-pandemic, post-quarantine, the amount of people who travel long and far just to come to Memphis just to eat. Me too, okay? Think about like how it's Memphians, like if we be away from the house too long. First thing you come back and get? What you gonna get? Some hot wings, some barbecue. Me, I like a honey hot. I don't like the lemon pepper, blah, blah, blah. I don't like all that. Give me a honey hot. Okay? Or give me a hot period. I like hot stuff. It's fine. To me, the best barbecue in the city is at somebody's uncle house, somebody's granddaddy house. But people come far and wide. That also corresponds to the amount of different ethnicities we have and subcultures that we have here, right? From all over the world. You could probably meet any type of person here in Memphis. I'm not over exaggerating. With a Mercury in Taurus, this brings out some stubbornness, though. A lot of side eyeing, right? It brings out also the capacity to have people feel like they're at home in our spaces. Mercury in Taurus. Absolutely. Absolutely. We also, and Memphians with that Mercury in the ninth house can be very psychic to things. We kind of already know certain shit is automatically intuitive, but also we don't mind talking about the spirituality of places, right? This is also very huge about the artistry. Mercury and Taurus is also another huge placement for artists, and it's in our music travels far and wide. Correct. Before we leave the ninth house and enter the 10th house, and what's that 1-2 degrees Gemini, we have the Gemini sun. So the sun illuminates, and it's also in the ninth house. Right now, it's another reason why everybody got Memphis' name in their mouth. The transit is happening. Uranus is transiting that dang on midheaven, baby. Midheaven is the highest point in the chart. It talks about reputation. It talks about how we want to also succeed and how we want others to see us. It's in Gemini. So we're multifaceted. We can do more than one thing, which makes sense because we talked about health, we talked about music, we talked about artistry, we talked about food, we talked about supply chain, and I've talked about hardwood. At one point, Memphis was the main supplier of hardwood throughout the United States. We're still the supplier of a lot of home goods because everything has to come through here at one point or another to get to the other side of the United States. Like, this is that midheaven in Gemini. We have like good jokes. We're highly intellectual if we want to be. Memphians, you have a choice. Gemini is one of the intellectual signs of the zodiac, of astrology. It's the reason why we have research institutions and so many researchers from the city of Memphis or have ties to Memphis. It's because the 10th house in Gemini. right? We have so many artists because of their 10th house in Gemini, that midheaven in Gemini. The sun is going to always illuminate that. It's going to illuminate that soul of the city, right? And as we go into the 11th house of social media and community, and friendships and interactions, right? It's in Cancer. Another reason why I feel like people always be like, oh, it's so homey here, I feel at home. Cancer, the nurturer, the mother, also the psychopath. Okay, don't get it twisted. Cancer's a little psychotic. People with Cancer placements, tread lightly with them fools. Okay, it's the reason why we easily go and check somebody real quick. We don't be care. Like, in the hindsight of things, 11th house Cancer, even your love is going to be out. You cannot, if you're not nurturing yourself, you cannot nurture others. You may want to give, but you cannot. It goes back to that 11th house is what? Across from that 5th house. When are we going to put the proper legalities in place that anybody who tries to profit off of us, we also need to get a cut? 12th house. Now, 12th house, another is spooky. Okay, house. 12th house is hidden enemies, is secrets, is family curses, it is the ether, it is the spiritual realm, the 12th house, right? Our 12th house is in Leo, and their little cross is what we call the lot of fortune. The fame, right? Who we are is the reason why we are as famous, right? Leo, lot of fortune in Leo. I also have this lot. It is tricky because you have to be visible. But with the lot of fortune in Leo in the 12th house says, I wouldn't say your spirit has to be visible. Actually, it's really saying watch who you show things to. Gatekeeping, right? Um And it's such a tricky thing. It really, really is such a tricky thing to kind of deal with. And we're going to be dealing with this shit a lot. A lot over the next 2 to 3 years. Memphis is going to be in a spotlight for at least the next decade or two. I'm not over exaggerating, y'all. It is what it is. Okay? I know I yapped a lot. I did not begin to scratch the motherfucking surface. Didn't. But hopefully this got your wheels turning. Because I don't know if I'm gonna drop it Saturday or I'm gonna drop it Sunday, part 2, with the transits that's going to be happening. I don't know, but we gonna need to talk. Okay. This is just like off the dome, looking at some of my notes, copious amounts of notes. I just hope this serves something. This reach somebody, and please go back and rewatch and ask the questions. Like, hit me up. If you need something, let me say this. I'm currently not doing personal birth chart breakdowns, but I can direct you to some people. Okay. If you want to learn more about astrology, I can direct you to some people who are teaching it right now. I am not. I'm focused on some other things. Now, if you need me, I talked about the foundational mediumship class. I do teach mediumship. Um, I'm not open to getting more mentees under hoodoo. I already know who I'm supposed to be helping with that right now. I am an ancestral medium. Um, that is my main thing that I promote. So if you need an ancestral reading or you need help with some genealogy, contact me. If you just need a basic reading, contact me. I do a spiritual court reading. So if you are already kind of in the midst of your spiritual journey and you want to know about your spiritual court, I do those types of readings as well. You just have to hit me up. Okay. Listen, DM me or email me. All that information will be in the description. This is a lot. I tried to keep this as like under an hour as possible. there's so much more we can talk about this birth chart of Memphis. It's so juicy when you kind of think about the history and you start thinking about your childhood and what you remember. You start asking your elders about things. When you start asking transplants about things, like it's there. It's in the cosmic DNA, y'all. So let me know what y'all think about this. Yeah, nay. This is tickle that itch. Like, is this what y'all wanted? Let me know. Talk soon. Um, yeah. And once again, happy birthday to Memphis.